Welcome to the Elusive Truth with Rich and Larry. Today's show, Clown World at its finest. We're going to be talking a little bit about the media, how they are portraying Trump and how they portray Biden. It's just crazy. It's going to show they have a narrative and they completely follow it, and we are bamboozled every single day over and over again with their crazy, outlandish lies. Yes, lies from our media. Can you believe it? Well, here we are. Here we're going to start with the Rubin Report. Bill Maher stammers as Republican corrects his Trump lies with facts. Have a listen.
Because as we watch this migration crisis, this illegal immigrant crisis, watching people pour over the border, for me to be in Israel, where I'm looking at the border, that Hamas and about 30,000 citizens just bust through the border to cause all this carnage and evil and everything else. I'm watching videos from back home where you're seeing people pour into our borders. And it's like that to see that and think nobody's doing anything about it is crazy. But more and more of us are waking up to it, and hopefully we can cause some change. Maybe not at the national level because of Biden, but I think we can at the state level. Anyway, I want to start with a video from Bill Maher Real Time on Friday night. Nancy Mace, who's a Republican congresswoman, she was on there, and Bill asked her about an interview she had done a day or two before with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. And now she is a victim of rape, I believe, when she was 16 years old. And I want you to listen, because when I talk about lies, it's not just that people lie about things. It's people that are always a certain set of people are very confused about things, let's say. So I want you to listen to what Bill says to Nancy and her response. Take a look.
Can I ask you about that? Because I asked before, would you mind talking about it? Because you were much in the news last week about this issue, because you were on George Stephanopoulos' show. Mm-hmm. And he was questioning about the idea that you're supporting Trump, who was found guilty of sexual assault by a jury in New York for the E. Jean Carroll case. And you were a rape victim yourself. And I guess his implication was that being so, that you should not support someone who is convicted of this crime.
Well, number one, to set the stage a little bit, I went on to talk about 2024. When the general election, it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. I had my 14-year-old kid with me, my daughter with me that day. It was work. I was there for work. She had no choice. She had to come with me. It was a really uncomfortable conversation afterwards with her on the way to the airport over this. And she knows my story. But number one, Donald Trump wasn't convicted of sexual assault. The 83 million was a defamation suit. It was about defamation. There was a sexual abuse claim, and she got a little bit for that. But the vast majority of it was for defamation, not rape, not sexual assault. So I think there are two types.
Is that right, Ron?
That is right.
Is that right? Yes, it is. So first off, but the confusion. So I talk about the liars, and then there's a confused set of people. So Bill, I don't think, was lying there. He did not realize that Donald Trump has not been convicted for rape. If you've been watching this show or watching any kind of alt media, you know that, right? He was convicted for defaming E. Jean Carroll, not for raping her. There is no rape conviction. But Bill says that she was convicted of this crime. That's what Bill says. And then at the end, when she says, no, this is the truth, it wasn't a conviction on rape, he says, oh, is that right? That sort of confusion, that there's a whole bunch of people who are confused about a whole bunch of things, is becoming a massive problem. Because, okay, fine, we have liars that lie to people, right? So the people of MSNBC lie about everything, and they keep their audience dumb and everything else. And you keep people confused about Gaza and Israel, and you keep people confused about gender and whatever, and you keep people confused about the founding of America. Fine, those people are bad because it's intentional. Bill, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think he was lying. I think he was genuinely surprised. It's a little surprising to me because he has a bunch of producers who I've gotten to know and are quite lovely. But I think we have to call out this stuff when it's there, because I'll show you how it's connected to some other things happening right now. Now I want to just jump back a few days, because here is Nancy Mace on ABC with George Stephanopoulos in that exact moment. And notice, when it's a Republican who's been raped, it's a little bit different.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me. about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming
You've
me.
endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it.
Doesn't it make it harder for women to come forward when they are
It makes it
defamed
harder
by
when other women
candidates?
joke about it, and she's joked about it. And I find it offensive. And I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame you
are.
at all. In fact,
I have dealt with this for 30 years. You know how hard it was to tell my story 5 years ago when they were doing a fetal heartbeat bill and there were no exceptions for rape, incest, or rape or incest in there? I had to tell my story because no other woman was coming forward. No rape victims were represented. And you're trying to shame me this morning.
I'm just asking.
And I find it offensive, and this is why women won't come forward.
Yeah. Let's get Nancy Mace on the show. That is how you deal with these people. To repeat, this was not a criminal case. It was a civil case about defamation. That's what she won. Donald Trump has never been convicted of rape, so he repeatedly lies, or the best version of it would be that he's slightly confused in what he's saying. But you've got to understand, these shows have 20 producers. They have showrunners, people that check everything along the way. I got a couple guys here. We're doing the best we can, and somehow we managed to do a little bit better. But also the idea, because, oh, you are supporting Donald Trump, now we're going to use your rape against you. It's absolutely disgusting. But what I'm trying to show you here is that the media, again, they lie or they confuse things. And it's also deeply connected to what I saw in Israel, where they lie or confuse about absolutely everything, whether it's related to history, whether it's somebody defending themselves as somehow the bad guy. I mean, it's the same tactic over and over. And again, more and more of us are waking up to it. There was a huge hoax that was debunked in real time.
Thank you, the Rubin Report. He put that in a great perspective. If you just watch mainstream media, Donald Trump is a rapist, he's a neo-Nazi, he's everything. One of the reasons why I brought this piece up is because, and I believe the Rubin Report was going to do this next, Donald Trump, or President Trump, was at a rally speaking about how China wants to send material to Mexico so they can build Chinese electric cars to sell in the United States. President Trump, he said it would be a bloodbath for U.S. automakers if this went through. And he would tariff 100% every car coming from Mexico to help balance this. The media, oh my goodness, the media went nuts and started telling everybody that Donald Trump said it's going to be a bloodbath if he doesn't win this election. Donald Trump says, you thought January 6th was a bloodbath. You just wait. I mean, just crazy. The lies that they're putting out and the fear they're trying to create does show how scared they are. And they're very worried that President Trump is going to be president again. And they're screaming, just going to throw everything out as they can. I mean, it's nuts. You would not think this is how it happens here in the United States. But unfortunately, it's happening all over the world. As we continue with the Rubin Report, he's going to go explain more about this latest narrative that the media is pushing against President Trump. Have a listen.
The mass ability to get information out in real time. It is the only place where we are not being suppressed and there is a counter view. So Elon saw that tweet that I just showed you there, and he retweeted and wrote, interesting. Now, it's important. It's not that what he wrote there is so important, but he then amplifies this so then people can see the hoax happening in real time. He followed up. His next tweet on that was this. Yep, hoax making in process, and it's surprisingly effective. So do you want to see how surprisingly effective it is? Over on MSNBC, it's not just headlines, but here they are. Just listen. We weren't here for a week, right? I was dealing with Hamas. I shouldn't be so frustrated with this kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. Watch.
What I heard was a continuation of the same rhetoric, the same endorsement of political violence that we've seen from Donald Trump for years, as you pointed out. It goes even farther back, right? This is the same guy who, after Nazis marched on Charlottesville and killed a woman, said there were very fine people on both sides.
Wow, that's a double whammy, because it's not just that they're lying about the bloodbath thing. Then they bring the very fine people hoax back. That guy works for the Biden-Harris re-election campaign. In a serious country, he would be fired immediately. But because we don't have an actual serious media, there's nobody to guard anybody, right? There's nobody to be like, you know what, you think anyone is going to at the Biden campaign is going to be like, dude, you were just on MSNBC and you lied about the bloodbath thing. And I know that they also lied about it because of the thing that they put beneath that Trump says there will be a bloodbath. He wasn't talking about violence on the streets. He was talking about the bloodbath for the American auto industry if we allow this to happen. But okay, fine, MSNBC lied, but you lied because you knew it wasn't about a bloodbath, a violent uprising or whatever. And also you brought up the very fine people hoax, which it's a hoax because Donald Trump did say, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who should be condemned completely. But they keep going. And here's Nancy Pelosi.
Because he's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about? Praising Hitler, praising the Russians.
Praising Hitler? Did we miss that one? Can somebody, I've been away. Did Trump praise Hitler while I was gone? I haven't found that one. I'm actually not going to go after Nancy Pelosi here. That would be low-hanging fruit.
Oh, that Pelosi just makes me want to cringe. How she spins everything around to her narrative and just lies. Oh, my goodness. Now to the Benny show. Benny Johnson was talking about the same thing again today, about how the media is pushing this. So here's Benny Johnson. Trump supposedly endorses neo-Nazis. Can you believe it? No, you should not believe it. Have a listen.
Watch the clip in its totality and see that that is entirely untrue. They've done this before, and they're doing it again. And what does it show you, ladies and gentlemen? It shows you deep and abiding desperation and fear and panic about 2024. They did this when Donald Trump first became president. This was in the first months of Donald Trump's presidency. They said that Donald Trump praised neo-Nazis, but if you actually watch the clip, you see a very different story. Watch.
You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits, and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
The press is treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly? No, I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this. There are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country.
So, wait a second. What Donald Trump is saying there is that there's nuance, that the white supremacists should be condemned totally. You can hear that at the beginning of what he says. But the only thing that the media focuses in on with the camera, I don't know if we have that meme, the only thing, they will like zoom in the cameras on the one thing they want you to see, and they will stop you from seeing the full context. This is lies by attrition or by omission. It's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry, Trump says. Media, bloodbath. Trump's calling for another January 6th. They did the same thing with Charlottesville. And what does this show you? This shows you that they are in panic. Donald Trump's been using this kind of language for a very long time. They're now looking. They're now desperate. They're now clawing and screeching and screaming for anything that they can get their hooks into. They will take this is a risk, right? Like, this is a risk. The risk is to just openly lie to everyone. That's the risk. It's a risky move because you can obviously fact check them. ALX, the executive producer of the show, ratioed the Biden-Harris campaign X account by just posting the truth. There's this other account, End Wokeness, that put up the tweet side by side. Let's grab that if we got it. It got close to 50 million views. We now have the power to break the narratives. And that's really special. That's something we didn't actually have a long time ago. Like, that's something we didn't have during the hoax of Trump saying there were good people on both sides. 46 million views. Let's see. Just look at that. 50 million views. Nailed it. 50 million views for the context of the clip. We can fight back now. The information war is not one directional. The way it used to be was the producers, who are DNC plants and working directly, huddling directly with Democrat operatives, create narratives and then shove them through the pipeline of their control vectors, their TV shows and their print publications. And then that creates such an echo chamber that nobody is able to fact check that. And nobody is able, in fact, the fact checker is like, lie. We deal with this all the time on our site. You'll post a true thing on Facebook and a fact checker will literally fact check it with a lie. And we win those arguments. We win those arguments day and night. You have to go back and fight the fact checkers and to prove truth to them. And this entire system is crumbling. So it's important for us to, one, understand how to fight information and truth. The truth shall set you free. But two, maybe it's important to hold these people to their own standards. Like, for instance, here's Politico, which has been gasping about this bloodbath comment, using the exact term bloodbath. In 2014, Politico tweets, Democrats got pummeled last week at the ballot box. Next up, their bloodbath in the Capitol. Oh my, in the Capitol? A bloodbath inside the Capitol? Whoa! Somebody needs to shut down Politico. Oh, it gets worse. Here's Joe Biden in the year 2020, when the DNC rigged it against Bernie Sanders, schlonged Bernie Sanders once again. Bernie Sanders was well on his way to winning the Democrat nomination. It shows you exactly how radical the party truly is. They were able to, of course, jiggle the handles and get Joe Biden across the finish line in South Carolina. We're able to utterly rig the thing for Joe Biden, signs of things to come. And Joe Biden is warning that there will be a bloodbath against Bernie Sanders. In Joe Biden's own words. Should we take Joe Biden's own words, quite literally? It's very interesting because Joe Biden, on the campaign trail, had literally talked about engaging in physical violence against Donald Trump, of all people. Should we believe him? Should we believe this literally? Should we take Joe Biden literally when he says something like this?
Don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
The president likes to portray himself. I love this. Likes to portray himself as a tough guy. When you were in high school, wouldn't you have liked to take the shot? Anyway, it's a different story, but anyway. A macho man.
Wow. Seems like somebody is perpetuating violence. Donald Trump's response, of course, to these taunts are picture perfect.
Take him behind the barn. In other words, wants to take me behind the barn and go, and the fake news is saying it's wonderful. Then when I said, let him take me behind the barn, hit him, so they said, oh, that's terrible. He's a fascist. Trump is a fascist. No, if we were ever behind a barn, I would look at him and I'd go like this.
We don't deserve Trump. What else should we take Joe Biden literally at? I mean, we can play this game all day. Did Joe Biden literally threaten to kill a young black man because he had too much pomade in his hair? Did Joe Biden go get rusty chains to go beat a young poor black boy when Joe Biden was a lifeguard in Wilmington, Delaware? I mean, did this literally happen? Maybe it did. Maybe someone should investigate this. I mean, this seems like a crime. Seems like a hate crime, actually. Here's Joe Biden in his own words.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off. Well, he came off, and he said, I'll meet you outside. My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, I'll be waiting for you. He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, what am I going to do? He said, come down here in the basement where mechanics, where all the pool filter is. You know, the chain, there used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up. He said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head. I said, you kidding me? He said, no, if you don't come back. And he was right.
We just play that for every show. Am I allowed to take Joe Biden literally? Because what Joe Biden literally just said was that he was going to wrap a chain around Corn Pop's head in response to Joe Biden using a slur against Corn Pop, saying he had too much pomade in his hair. Corn Pop had a rusty razor blade and was going to cut Joe. Sounds like hate crime. Maybe I just should take Joe Biden literally. Should I take Joe Biden literally here when Joe Biden says that he has created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history? Can I take Joe Biden literally here? I didn't see any breathless headlines about Joe Biden saying we've created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history. Where are the headlines? Can't we run with this? Can I just publish this headline day and night? He just admitted it. Watch.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Oh, okay. Well, am I allowed to take him literally? Because he just said it, and you're all using this for Donald Trump. That's like a 7-second clip. You posted Donald Trump's 7-second clip. So you're saying now, suddenly, even though we've used the term bloodbath time and time and time again, millions of times, the term bloodbath is a commonly used term. Laura Trump was on the show the other day, and she made a ton of news talking about how the RNC is going to hire Scott Pressler. But we talked about the bloodbath at the RNC. We put up an article with Laura Trump just last Thursday, an article saying there's a bloodbath at the RNC, that she's causing that. I called her the angel of death on the show. Are you coming for me next? Or are you coming for yourselves? Because you all just used bloodbath like a day ago to describe what's happening at the RNC. They're firing a bunch of people. Am I allowed to take Joe Biden literally? When Joe Biden says that he's sold state secrets, he sold more state secrets than he can remember. Am I allowed to should I run with this? Is that the new rule? This is the new rule. Because Joe Biden's straight up admitting it. Here we go.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
I've sold a lot of state secrets, Joe Biden says, at a meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. Can I take him? Can I take that literally? Joe Biden, I wrap chains around Corn Pop's neck. That's what Joe Biden says. I've created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history, and I've sold more state secrets than I can even remember. Sold them. We found out last week, in Robert Hur's testimony, that Joe Biden was shoving documents down his pants in the Senate, classified documents down his pants inside of the secure skiff, and then going and giving them to his ghostwriter to go make money. Well, doesn't that sound like selling state secrets? I mean, Joe Biden's literally admitting it. Can I take him literally? It'd be amazing to apply this both ways. It'd be remarkable, actually, if you apply it both ways. If you go through and like parse this out, what you'll find is that the desperation and the reeking, screaming, seething of the corporate press because they are so scared of Donald Trump coming back, that's what this reeked. This isn't a position of power. Like, you don't go after Donald Trump for stuff like that. This is like super low information. This is like a low information hoax. This is not some like higher level functioning. This is like the dumbest possible people. And of course, there's going to be BlueAnon people that are like drooling through their like 3 masks, right? Watching whatever Dr. Fauci says and going to be sitting there looking, nodding their head and not paying attention, right? Of course, there's going to be those people. But the vast majority of Americans still have functional prefrontal cortexes and can watch this show and can see on social media what a lie this is. It is a lie. And also, it's a super low effort lie because you could just go back on like a simple supercut and find these people using the term bloodbath. Like, did they literally mean bloodbath? Did the corporate press literally mean bloodbath when they did this like a week ago?
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies as part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath. They're shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats, a bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you. And
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long.
Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
Predicted to be a bloodbath.
may not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
More of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
We have an election to win. So we're not going to like sit here and spend the entire rest of the show like screaming, calling names to the media. It's just important to note that we are winning. It's good to like give our side a little bit of credit. Because this narrative, at the very least on the X platform, ALX and I are doing our prep for the show, and every single person that pushed this narrative got destroyed on that platform, got wrecked. Obviously, ALX was doing some of the wrecking. Elon Musk got Joe Scarborough to delete one of his posts about this. I don't know if we have the screenshot up, but let's grab that. Joe Scarborough pushed this hoax and was shamed so ruthlessly that he had to delete, well, he should delete his account, but had to delete everything that he said. Here you go. They had to delete his lies. It's incredible. It's unbelievably spectacular, and it's leading to one of the better meltdowns that we've seen in a long time. And the meltdown goes like this. Donald Trump is winning in 2024. It's too big to rig. It's outside of the margin of fraud. So the best that we can do is create more hoaxes, about as many hoaxes as we possibly can, from the party that brought you Russiagate, the both sides hoax, that brought you every COVID hoax, that has lied to you about basic biology, that has lied to you, obviously, about the BLM Antifa riots, that lied to you about every major news event in modern history, that continues to perpetuate lies to you. Those that you should somehow still trust us when we said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Now Hunter Biden suing people for distributing his laptop material. You know who put that all together, by the way? Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken is the Secretary of State. He was rewarded for that lie. Anthony Blinken was given a promotion for creating the Hunter Biden Russian disinformation lie. Rewarded. This is how the system works. And they're finally facing the music. They're finally facing like the hard reality that we have more of an audience than they do. And that we are more powerful than them. Check streaming numbers versus terrestrial broadcast numbers. Whoop. We won. We've won. And so it is important for us. We don't often do like a media criticism show because it's pointless. They're already gone, right? There's already been a bloodbath in the media space. We can do article after article about how many jobs are being laid off. Deadspin just went out of business last week. Vice went out of business the week before. BuzzFeed's about to go out of business. CBS, NBC, ABC laying off massive staff layoffs. Tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. Why? Because of situations like this. Because they've beclowned themselves, and all you had to do was tell the truth. The purpose of the Fourth Estate was to speak truth to power. That's why press was important. The way our founders put it together was there's going to be freedom of the press, which is going to allow them to critique the powerful. It's not going to allow them to lie about the powerful. You're able to speak to the people that are currently in power. That wouldn't be Donald Trump. That would be Joe Biden. And you're able to fact check them. So what should have happened in a purist constitutionalist vacuum is Joe Biden lies about Donald Trump saying bloodbath, and the entire Fourth Estate, as they call the media, turn on Joe Biden and correct that lie with context. That's speaking truth to power. Now what the media does is speak power to truth. They have joined sides with Joe Biden and are perpetuating his lie to lie to you. And that is why they're going out of business. That is why every single show, ladies and gentlemen, we take great joy in salting our libs. Often those libs exist in the corporate press, and today is no different.
Thank you, Benny Johnson, The Benny Show. You can watch the full interview / information that he gives out. It's amazing. Backfire. Biden's new Trump bloodbath hoax exposed. Media sent into unhinged meltdown on live TV. Check it out. Benny Johnson. Awesome. As I've shown between these two YouTubers, it's amazing. The lies, the snippets, they take a small little focused preamble and they just go to town with it. I hope you guys check this out for yourself and look at multiple sources to get the full picture, because that's all they're trying to do. They know if they've lost, so they're going to spread more and more lies. But thankfully, we have some politicians that are actually working for the people, that actually have common sense and are trying to make this country great again. So I am talking about Mr. Mark Robinson. He's currently the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. And wow, he has got some good speeches. We definitely need more people like him in politics. And he's running for governor of North Carolina, which President Trump has endorsed him. So that will hopefully give him enough votes to become governor of North Carolina and add to the collection of governors that are actually standing up for the people of their states. With that, you probably haven't heard much about Mark Robinson. The media doesn't want you to know about this guy because he's fiery and a lot of people are jumping on his wagon. Have a listen. Mark Robinson.
Politics? Let me give you a humble man who worked at a furniture shop in a rural part of North Carolina. His name's Mark Robinson. This dude just went to his town council meeting and gave an impassioned speech about firearms.
These minorities and that minority, what I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight.
Mark Robinson, of course, went on to viral fame with that speech. And now, it's one thing to have internet fame. It's a whole different thing to have literal electoral power over one of the fastest growing states in America. Mark Robinson won the North Carolina Republican gubernatorial nomination. MAGA loyalists who called Trump Martin Luther King on steroids. I love this guy. Advances in the battleground state. Robinson was first elected lieutenant governor in 2020 and has been on a fierce supporter of Donald Trump. Donald Trump won North Carolina. He's faced criticisms for offensive comments. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Let's go to some of his offensive comments. Here you go.
It's not a story of victimization. It's a story of victory. And we have attained that victory together as Americans. That is what we need to be celebrating in this country. And we need to celebrate together as Americans of all stripes, because it was Americans of all stripes who made those victories possible. We don't need ideas like critical race theories creeping into the classroom that will do the exact opposite.
Mark Robinson saying that the story of America is a story of victory, and it looks like Mark Robinson is heading to victory. This recent poll shows Mark Robinson up 44 to 39 on the Democrat, Stein. Then another poll here shows Stein up by 2 points, but we'll see how that narrows inside of a heavy Trump state. Mark Robinson is a heavy favorite because Mark Robinson has been just a straight up baller on the trail. Mark Robinson, the current lieutenant governor, is going to be able to bring people out with messages like this.
Hear me when I say this, leftist politicians in Washington, D.C. We need to make as much of an investment protecting our children as the American people do in protecting you. You spare no expense buying every weapon known to man, buying every metal detector known to man, every modern convenience you have it at your disposal to protect you behind the walls that you live in. But you are bound and determined to leave our children defenseless. And now you are bound and determined to leave the law-abiding patriotic citizens of this nation unarmed and defenseless. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, get your pencils out, lick them, and get ready to write this down. It is not going to happen. We are not going to go off into that good night without standing up for our rights. It's time for the law-abiding American patriot in this nation to stand up and say, hell no, we will not go, and you will not take them, and we will continue to stand strong for what we know is right. We will protect ourselves. We will protect our children. And we will protect the freedoms that God has given us and that has been enshrined in our Constitution.
Man, Mark Robinson is a phenomenon. This is why the left hates this man. You'll watch them try and smear this man.
So because of speeches like this is probably why you haven't heard of Mark Robinson. The media and the Democrats are trying to silence Mark Robinson because the people of North Carolina respect this man and want him to be the next governor. So with that, I'm going to play you Mark Robinson. This is his campaign ad. It's actually quite good, and it'll help explain a little bit more about who Mark Robinson is. Have a listen.
There's some things in life you can't forget. For me, one of them is this tree in front of my childhood home. You see, I grew up poor here in Greensboro, the ninth of 10 children. We had no phone, no air conditioning, no car. What we did have was an alcoholic father who beat my mother. Despite all that, he was still my father, someone we counted on. When I was in the 5th grade, my father died. My mother had a choice: kick her feet up and live off the government or get a job. My mom took her 5th grade education and walked across the street and got a job at a university. She cleaned up after other people's children to provide for her own. She told me to dream. She told me with faith, hard work, I could achieve anything. She was so right.
History made in the Tar Heel state last night.
Who exactly is Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson?
I'm the majority. I do. I stand before you today as the first black lieutenant governor of North Carolina. Served in the military. I've worked in furniture plants. I've been a general manager for a restaurant chain. And I own a small business with my wife. As a factory worker, I made good money. Until NAFTA hit. I lost my job not once, but twice. My wife and I have faced these tough times as we work to raise a young family with 2 wonderful children. Like so many of you, we know the gnawing feeling you get from worrying about money, how it keeps you up at night as your children sleep. I've lost my car, my home, and was forced into bankruptcy. Like you, I don't need a politician to tell me what to be worried about. It's obvious. We know the price of gas and groceries and childcare is outrageous. We know too many children can't read on a grade level, that they've been failed by an education bureaucracy that's leaving them unprepared for life once they graduate. And sadly, we know our teachers aren't respected and aren't treated or paid as the professionals that they are. We know that shuttered factories like the ones I've worked for have left scars all over the small towns of North Carolina. We also know that our police departments are struggling, that they can't fill their ranks because we are demonizing the men and women in blue. North Carolina doesn't need more slick politicians who use work boots and Carhartt jackets as props in TV ads. They're just pretending to be one of us. You see, it doesn't take an Ivy League education to understand the problems we're facing. What it takes is somebody with a backbone and a vision, who cares about serving instead of climbing the political ladder. I'm running for governor because we deserve to be represented by someone who's actually lived like us. Someone who wants to serve, not rule. I don't care about the zip code you live in, the size of your paycheck, whether you're black, white, straight, or gay. None of those things should determine your future or your child's future. No one should have to choose between paying for medicine or making a trip to the grocery store. And our streets should be safe, and so should our schools. These issues shouldn't be Republican or Democrat issues. They should be the issues that transcend the gridlock of our capital. History teaches us anything. It's that Americans don't run from trouble. We run towards it. Now it's our time to stand up and make history, so that kids who grew up in uncertainty like I did, that they have a chance to succeed, and that they know that they live in North Carolina, a state where anything is possible. Someday you and I will be gone, and I don't want my family to see a picture of me and wonder why I didn't fight for them. I want my children and grandchildren to know that I did everything I could. That's what I'm fighting for, and that's why I'm running for governor. Will you join me?
We need more politicians of this caliber. I want to thank you for listening to The Elusive Truth. I want you to keep looking for the elusive truth. And just another quick shout out to Benny Johnson, The Benny Show, Dave Rubin from The Rubin Report. You guys are awesome. You're looking for the elusive truth, whether you know it or not. So we're all in this together. Thank you. God bless Mark Robinson, North Carolina, Donald J. Trump, America, Canada, The Rubin Report, the world. God loves you guys. Stay positive. And we're working together. We're going to get through this, and we're going to take our countries back, and we're going to live in peace and happiness once again. With that, we'll see you next week. Take care. Larry will be with us, and have a good week. Bye-bye.